Welcome to Multifamily Rockstars. If you are new to apartment investing or already experienced, you will enjoy this show. You will hear from the leading experts in multifamily real estate so that you can be a better owner, operator, and investor. Real people, real stories, life-changing. And now, your host, Ryan Christopher Nunes.
Well, welcome to today's show. We have Alex Polamero with us today. Alex has worked in multifamily marketing since 2012 and led the lease up of multiple Class A, B, and C rehabbed apartment communities. Alex is a nationally recognized leader in marketing automation for real estate development and has trained hundreds of frontline sales and leasing agents. Alex owns Ninestone Marketing based in Claremont, California, where he leads marketing for real estate development, financial services, and SaaS companies. Alex, welcome to the show.
All right. Hey, Ryan. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, let's jump right in. So, Alex, walk us through your background. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
All right. I spent about 10 years in nonprofit marketing and fundraising. And then in 2009, when the economy kind of tanked, I ended up being laid off and ended up in the corporate world and led marketing for one of the largest privately held real estate developers in the country. I started out doing social media marketing. We started with 2 accounts, a Facebook account and a Twitter account. 8 years later, we have 100 plus accounts for that one company. So we've done a lot with social. Over time, I ended up running many divisions of that organization, including retail, multifamily, new homes, like recruiting for the company, HR automation. So a lot of different things, and as well as advertising and websites and branding, kind of the whole ball of wax there. And then I spent a lot of time, whenever you're trying to generate leads for multifamily, you got to marry that up with sales. So on the leasing side, so spent a lot of time working with leasing folks. I've been in real estate and multifamily now for 8 years. So, we continue to grow in terms of what we're doing with digital marketing. And now, we work with not only real estate, but, a lot of different types of clients, financial service clients, SaaS clients, startups, as well as like lenders and, brokers. So we kind of take all that experience and apply that to, multifamily.
Awesome. So walk us through some projects that you've worked on in the multifamily space, a little background on the asset, the problems they were facing, and what you did to solve the problem.
Yeah, sure. We've worked on a number of, Class A properties. So they lease up of brand new luxury Class A properties with up to 1,500 units, where we had footprints that were up to about 3,500 square feet per apartment. Those were in Southern California and in Reno, Nevada. So I've worked on 5 of those. The biggest challenge for us from a marketing perspective was trying to lease these up fast enough, because we were bringing in 60 to 90 units per phase with many phases, and sometimes even flooding a market where we already had the lion's share of the market from an apartment perspective. So how do you manage that? How do you lease them up fast enough without reducing your price? So that was really the challenge there. I've worked on many rehab projects. Some of those, people had to move out and rehab, or we'd rehab one unit at a time. And the key there for us, the biggest challenge there was just trying to help people become aware of the fact that now we have some really new, beautiful apartment units in a same community that they're already familiar with. The community already knew, like the broader community already knew about those apartments and hadn't really understood that they were very different now, really a lot more modern. So for us, that was just more of about awareness and generating, the kind of person who would want to live there, quality leads.
And then if we kind of dove into, B and C class properties, what do you see as the most effective forms of marketing there? Where's the biggest bang for your buck?
Yeah, so biggest bang for your buck, hands down, in my mind, is a CRM. So if you need a CRM, what we've seen, so we ran a big project across an entire portfolio of different apartment communities. And what we found was that we could recapture between 17 and 80% of leads just by utilizing a CRM. So what that means is what was happening is marketing was sending leads. We're spending more marketing dollars. We're generating more qualified leads. We're sending them directly to the leasing sales team, and they weren't being followed up in an efficient and effective way. And this was happening kind of at a big level. So after auditing all of that, we found just by leveraging a CRM where we can be more efficient in how we manage the sales process, 17 to 80% of those leads that weren't being followed up with, or sometimes didn't get more than one touch, one piece of communication, we could go back and get those. So before a lot of folks in multifamily are all about getting more leads. And this is a lot of businesses just need more leads, just keep filling the funnel with more leads. But if we're not taking good care of those leads and giving people a good experience, even if they don't move in, it impacts our reviews and everything else, right? It just becomes a big waste of money. And the cost per lead and the cost per lease really goes up if we're getting lots of leads, but we're not closing leases. So the place to start is the CRM. And I still talk to a lot of folks who don't have a CRM. If you manage properties that do have a CRM, then that's fantastic. So you just want to leverage that tool as best you can. Another couple things that I think have been super, effective. Sometimes marketing is involved in this. Sometimes it's more operational, but just online leasing, people have certainly moved that way. Craigslist for B and C is still really effective. Just an approach that is consistent in posting your listings to Craigslist. If Craigslist is a place that is a resource that's popular, in your part of the country, I think reviews are super important. I mean, people just they care about reviews. So, one of the questions we have to ask clients is, are we going to send you a whole bunch of, people who want to lease your apartments and they're going to look at a 2-star review, right? Why don't we get the reviews up and then spend some more money on getting you more leads? So, and those can go hand in hand. But in terms, launching some sort of review software has been super helpful. It's very easy to benchmark where your reviews are at and how you can improve reviews. And a lot of that is about consistently asking folks for reviews. Mm-hmm. And when I mean reviews, it's like Google, Facebook, Yelp, Zillow, apartments.com, apartment listing, those kind of places.
And so you'd mentioned a CRM. Any suggestions as to what the best CRMs are?
No, there's a lot of factors to consider in terms of what the best CRMs are. There are two players that, Yardi and RealPage both have CRMs. They're kind of the major, the two gorillas in the space. But there are some other CRMs that are really cool as well. That, you might be worth checking out. Knock CRM, KNOCK, was one that used to be pretty cool. And there's some others that people use. I think it has a lot to do with just identifying what are your goals, and then the piece of software should help you achieve that, right? And it's not a one fit kind of situation when it comes to a CRM. And often you find that it takes a little while to roll that out. So, it's kind of a process of being patient and diligent and making it happen.
And so, Alex, in terms of reviews, you said, consistently asking for reviews. Any kind of tips or strategies to get, tenants more engaged and other people, providing positive reviews?
Oh, yeah. So that's a great question, right? There's a couple things that are super helpful. One is incentivizing a leasing team to ask for reviews. So a long time ago, a number of years back, Yelp said, hey, we're really coming down hard on this idea that you can pay people to review your apartment community. That doesn't work. But what does work is some sort of fun incentive program, some fun competition for your leasing team and your leasing manager. Like, hey, let's see if we can get this many reviews this month on Yelp or on Facebook or on Google. And if we do, you individually get some sort of fun reward. And as a team, if we meet the team goal, you get some sort of like team reward. We had a leasing manager run a campaign just like that. Super simple. I think it cost, $200 or something. And we had the highest number of Yelp reviews of any community ever over the course of 8 years, just because the leasing manager got super pumped up and excited and, got his team into it. It was just a fun competition. The other thing that can be really helpful for getting reviews is just making part of the leasing process, asking for reviews. So one of those ideas is, build an onboarding email campaign. So when someone leases an apartment at your community, automatically send them a series of emails, not just one email. Those series of emails are, could be tailored to not only tell them some logistical types of things about moving in, but more things about the community, things about the, what is the neighborhood like? What are the great places to eat? What are the great places to shop? Why do people love it here? Where do you take your pets? Whatever it may be. And as part of that, 60 or 90 days into that nurture campaign, that's really an onboarding email campaign, invite them to review you on the source that makes the most sense, whether it's apartments.com or Google. What we find is that we can just get a lot of reviews. I mean, we can, you can create an automated process there, so you don't have to ask somebody individually all the time. So those things work really well. And then just the leasing team asking people that are happy, because leasing people talk to people all the time at communities, right? And when they say, man, I really love this place, you just say, oh, hey, would you be willing to give us a quick review on Facebook? And most of the time people go, sure, yeah.
So, walk us through, you have a client that calls you up and says, I have a Class B or C asset. We are kind of struggling with occupancy. We're sub 90%. What do you do? I mean, how do you kind of diagnose the problem and solve it?
Well, I think the first question I suppose there's a lot of questions, right? But one of the questions that helps us diagnose the solution or a possible solution is, well, why are we sub 90%? Why is that? Is it a market issue? Is it a pricing issue? Is it a staffing issue? Or is it a marketing issue? Or is it a quality issue, right? Is it a maintenance issue? So a lot of times we have to go through the process of identifying, well, what do we think the problem is? Usually we need to fix a couple of those things before we can fix the marketing side. So marketing can drive more demand, but if a community is not following up with maintenance, let's say, and there's lots of complaints online about maintenance, then that could be a factor that we need to solve. If the team, like I was suggested at the very beginning of the call, if you don't have a CRM and you're not sure if your leasing team is actually following up with all the leads that you're getting, then chances are you might just be missing opportunities. So we have to go through that process of identifying why. If we come to the conclusion that our team is doing a fantastic job, they're following up with all the leads, they're friendly and caring about people, and they're very efficient in their sales process, let's say, then we also look at pricing and we go, we're very competitive from a pricing perspective, right? For our neighborhood and for this time and this season, because we have some seasonal kind of curves in pricing. If we look at those things and we say we're good, then the question is marketing. Okay, how can we take our budget and generate more leads? We want to lower the cost per lead so we can get more qualified people out there. And what can we do? A lot of that is going to depend on the budget, given the scenario.
Okay. And then how do you think about setting those marketing budgets?
So there's a few ways to do that. So National Apartment Association, right? They publish benchmarks every year for the cost per unit to spend on marketing. So that's one way you could just benchmark, your community against kind of a national database of what people are spending. That doesn't give you a lot of flexibility for your situation. Another way to do it is benchmark your marketing against your own performance. So you can take a look at what have we spent? What's the cost per lead and the cost per lease, if you have that data, over the last year or two. And then the goal is to see that performance improve. We want to see the cost per lease go down. We want to convert more of those leads that we get in the door, and that will allow us to then reduce that cost per lease, right? We also kind of take a look at the the sales cycle. How long does it take for someone to convert from the time they call us or submit an inquiry online to the time that they actually lease an apartment? So we've seen both of those kind of be effective. If you're way outside the National Apartment Association, usually we will do that for certain times, lease ups or rehabs, where we're going to really bolster the budget for the apartment community. But from a profitability perspective, we don't want to be like spending way more money than everybody else in the whole country for a long period of time, because then whoever owns the community is going to ask you, well, what's up? What are you guys doing? So I think those are two helpful ways to do it. Benchmark your own data, take a look at what the national stats are.
And then is there any guidance as to what marketing budget per door you think is appropriate?
I think it's kind of the same kind of thing. It's going to depend on your market locally. You can take a look at the national market and how much people spend, and then what is the situation that you're currently in. There may be periods where you're going to spend more so that we can get the occupancy up and then stabilize it. Let's say at 96% or 97%. So in our experience, we want to be around there, 96.5, 97%. We want room to increase rents if we need to, but we don't want to lose money.
Sure.
So it's a constant balancing act.
Sure.
But a CRM can really help with that. I mean, one of the biggest challenges that we find when we talk to folks is that a lot of times they don't have the data. They don't know how much does it cost to get a lead by every different type of source. So if you put somebody out on the corner with a sign, who's twirling a sign, right? How many leads did you get? Sometimes it's hard to tell.
Sure.
But the better data you have, the easier it is to kind of make those decisions about how much should I spend by channel and how much should I spend overall.
And then the CRM will track by channel where the leads are coming in.
Yeah.
And so from that, you can track how much you spent, on each of those channels. Yeah.
There's a caveat to that. I mean, some of these sources are walk-ins, right? Walk-ins. I saw your sign.
Sure.
I saw this ad out there, and a leasing consultant. I've been in situations where we've asked somebody, where did you see us? And they told us this particular ad, but we never ran an ad there.
Sure.
Right. Or they'll just say Google. So there is some, level of error in the human experience.
Sure. In terms of KPIs for assessing your marketing strategy and your plan, what are your thoughts on that? What do you look at, as well as for tenant acquisition?
Well, I've got a couple that I think that are, that we look at on a regular basis. We look at the cost per lead by channel. So by marketing source. That could be Google ads, it could be Craigslist, it could be Facebook lead gen ads, or Instagram, or it could be Zillow or apartments.com, right? Whatever that may be. The cost per lead by marketing source.
Sure.
We look at the cost per lease by marketing source. That's really the bottom line there. We look at conversion rates. So what is the number of leads that convert to a tour of the community, and what percentage of those convert to a lease? And we can figure that out by source. So, how many people from Craigslist turn into a walk-in and a tour, and how many of those turn into a lease? And the same for Google ads. So there have been occasions, some communities, Google advertising can perform really well, where other communities, the cost per lease is just astronomical compared to some of these other sources. And sometimes it varies by community and the neighborhood and, what kind of people are there
Sure.
and how they search. We look at renewal rates. That's super important because if everybody's leaving, then, we know that in multifamily, you have a pretty high kind of a, rate of folks leaving. I mean, what have you found in Houston? Like what's average?
I think, if you're doing 50%, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but if you find that 70% of your people are turning over every year,
Sure. That's a problem.
then yeah, right. You got to solve that. And then leasing consultant performance metrics. So that's the stuff that you can find in the CRM. How quickly are they following up with new leads? How many people are getting a call? How often, how many touch points does each lead get? How long does it take to convert a lead or prospect, to a lease? Those things are, those are just on the management side. Marketing looks at those things to identify, hey, we might have a challenge, but then we usually inform the operational team about, well, okay, here's what we're finding from a data perspective. And then we leave it to the operational team to kind of, how are you going to manage for that? How are you going to supervise folks? Sometimes it's just a training issue, something like that.
And then in terms of, you mentioned training, what do you do in terms of training leasing staff? What types of things do you like to see them learn or do or to be effective?
What we've seen is, people spend a lot of time just educating the leasing staff about the community itself, the apartment community itself, and what there is to offer. What are the benefits of the overall neighborhood? You got to be thoughtful about fair housing in multifamily. But at the same time, people want to know, like, what is near us? What's this community all about? What's the vibe here? What are the things that you can, you can share? So part of it's just understanding your own product that you're selling. The other thing I've seen is, sales managers and supervisors spend a lot of time just helping leasing consultants learn how to sell, because it's a true sales job. I think the other thing that recruiting the right folks is key, because a leasing job is part sales. It's, you have to be good at sales, but you have to be good at administration. And a lot of salespeople are not good at administration. They just aren't, right? And a lot of administrators are not good at sales. So like the cream of the crop leasing consultants or leasing salespeople tend to be really organized and really good at sales. And those are hard to find, or you got to train them to do it that way. And then, from a marketing perspective, what I've found is just open communication with the leasing and sales team about what we're doing and how do you treat these different leads, right? If we send you one type of lead versus another, does it make a difference, right? If someone calls from a Google ad about, because we offered a promo on pet rent, let's say, the leasing team should know that there's a promo on pet rent. It's pretty simple, but sometimes that doesn't happen, right? The communication just isn't there to say, hey, here's what marketing is doing. So the more marketing and sales can work together, the better. That's just general for most organizations.
What marketing strategies would you say are kind of, if you were to say low cost, best bang for your buck to, high dollar, but, necessary if you're in certain scenarios or situations? Kind of how would you go through the different channels of marketing?
Low cost sources could be things like, Craigslist.
Sure.
Relatively low cost, and you can see a high rate of return. Facebook and Instagram organic posts, just, posting about the community and sharing pictures and sharing stories in a free way, right? That can drive traffic. Reviews are a fantastic low cost way to improve lead generation. Kind of the next step up in terms of cost, Facebook and Instagram, we've seen a lot of success there on lead gen ads on both of those, and there's a variety of different types of advertising. They tend to be lower cost, maybe a little bit less qualified. And then, probably a little bit more expensive, but if you have the money, it can really move the needle, is Google marketing. So Google ads, that would include search and remarketing, perhaps display as kind of a approach to branding. We've seen YouTube work for us as a brand play, actually a low cost brand play when we're launching a brand new community and we have a good video. It can build that kind of thing. One of the most effective and lowest cost approaches that I haven't mentioned is email. So once you have a lead, automated email marketing, nurturing that prospect over time, is a fantastic way to improve conversion rates, get more people to lease. And the interesting thing is that interesting to me at least, a lot of people in multifamily, maybe they think the sales cycle is 60 days. So we've tested that a whole bunch. And what we found is even if someone doesn't rent, if you have a good community in a neighborhood, there's a very good chance that the next year they may come back to you. So, we've seen this idea, Ryan, you and I have talked about this idea that leads are dead leads. I mean, dead leads are only the person who says, no, do not call me ever. How do they say that, right? But we've run campaigns to dead leads. We ran one campaign where we had 60,000 dead leads for a portfolio. Wow. We took 20,000 of those leads and just ran a email nurture campaign, just telling them all kinds of stuff about the community. And in the first 8 months, we had 200 net leases from dead leads alone for the portfolio.
Wow.
Right. We were able to track that. So the sales team from that point on, changed their mind about dead leads. Wow. So email, you got to, leverage email.
And is that kind of like through an active campaign program?
So active campaign often is like a small business type of marketing automation solution. Okay. Some of the players like RealPage or Yardi might have automated email nurture campaigns, kind of basic types of campaigns that you can leverage.
Okay.
If you were to get a little bit more sophisticated, a tool like HubSpot or Act On can help you. That's, a marketing automation is built into those tools. We've used Marketo. Marketo tends to be like a larger, mid-market to larger enterprise level organization, tool. Okay. But, Marketo is the kind of tool where you can run, we have one client where we run 200 plus automated campaigns to 400,000 different types of leads. Wow. Across five different types of, new homes, multifamily, retail, and then we cross market all over the place. Wow. So that's impressive. You can do that with those kind of tools. But Active Campaign for a small community, yes, you can use Active Campaign to do some of the basic nurturing. Okay. But you're saying kind of has Yardi and RealPage have an off-the-shelf product that might get you there faster? Yeah, the products that I've seen from them don't give you a lot. They don't give us a lot of flexibility. They're not real. They're pretty limited in what we can achieve, but it's much better to do that than nothing. What about a marketing plan, Alex, where it's a class, let's say C property, 100 units, it's been flirting with 90% occupancy, rents are below market, budget, let's say 150 a door, $15,000. What would you do? We'd ask the question, what's the problem here, right? So let's say we've figured out what we think is the problem and we want marketing to help solve the problem, right? We feel like we're in the right zone with pricing. In terms of quality, we know we're doing an okay job with our quality, and we feel like we've got a good team in place. They're going to do a good job with what we've got available. one of the things to look at right off the bat is a website. So how would we optimize the website? And that could be things that are as simple as sharing reviews on the website if you have positive reviews, making it easy for people to find the information they need and fill out a form and call you. One of the simplest ways to improve phone calls is to put a local phone number. It can still be tracked, but rather than like an 800 number, so we had one client, they had 900 tracked 800 numbers. You know,
Wow.
They started with 800. What we found over the past number of years is that sometimes we can get up to a 10% lift in phone volume just by changing the phone number to a local phone number.
Okay.
Because people don't trust 800 numbers anymore.
Okay.
Because everyone has a cell phone. And 800 means to them salesy.
Sure.
Local means local.
Sure.
Real
Sure.
person.
Nice.
So we'll take a look at the website. We'll take a look at some reviews. You know, how are we going to improve reviews? Because we know that that's low cost to go after. We can take a look at like SEO and content. So a lot of times content, if we have somebody on site who can write the content, talk about the neighborhood, talk about the benefits of the community, you know, post some blogs about that, tell stories about residents, a lot of times that can go a long way, and that can feed what we're doing on Facebook and things, right? So this is a pretty low budget. So we're looking at the website, we're looking at what content we have to offer, we're looking at reviews. And then we're going to take a look at like social, probably like two options are Google advertising and Facebook advertising. So Google the easiest way to get a bunch of leads to any community, if you have the money, is Google ads. It's Google search ads. I mean, you can just run Google search ads and fill up a community. Where that becomes a problem is you spend more money.
Sure.
So, but people who are searching for apartments on Google tend to have higher intent. They're actually looking for something, right? So we would look at the cost of running Google search ads for that particular community and how competitive those could be, because it varies, the cost varies. Facebook and Instagram can be a good source that we would look at, and how much would that cost us? If we have email marketing available, we'd figure out a way to optimize that, like we talked about. So we would have a prospect campaign. Once somebody comes and tours the tour, if someone fills out a form, we'd have a series of messages to them that talk about why they should schedule that tour. You know, when someone tours a community, we will have emails that go out from the leasing consultant, and it helps a lot to put the leasing consultant's picture on your email and their personal name. And it's just supplemental. That email, the job of that email is to supplement the leasing consultant's sales efforts with information that's helpful. So we'll look at email. We'll look at Craigslist, probably in a scenario like that, right? And we'll also look at whether they have like some sort of ad bundle through CoStar or RentPath,
Okay.
Zillow, CoStar being, I think apartments.com is CoStar.
Okay.
So usually the marketing mix is going to be between those things.
Okay. And then if you double the budget to $30,300 a door, what would you do?
We'd spend more money on SEO.
Okay.
So, and more on Google ads. So here's what's going to happen. This is kind of like the irony of advertising. If you need to move the needle quick, Google advertising and Facebook, but especially Google, can help us. We're going to spend more. The curve starts higher, spend more. We want to see that curve lower over time, go down, right? Organic search, right? When we think of organic search, Google is looking at not the website. Google is saying which web page is the best page to answer somebody's question. So when we optimize a page, we're optimizing that page, one for the user and two for Google.
Okay.
So Google search engine optimization, over time, it's going to start slow and the curve is going to go up. So what we want to happen is gain more organic search over time while we lower our Google ad budget. But that takes effort and it takes content. You got to be able to have something to say and to put web pages out there or blogs or videos about a community, right? So we would probably also look at things like, what else could we do with the CRM if we had a bigger budget, and how can we automate more campaigns? So are we going to use something like Active Campaign, or are we going to go and use a tool? If it's a bigger portfolio, we might use a tool like that's more sophisticated, like a Marketo, right? If we're dealing with lots of multifamily communities. So we would put more effort into that. We might also look at like Yelp, Yelp, like an enhanced profile. A lot of communities, that's an easy thing that we can do. Just have an enhanced profile. The fourth thing that I would say is just be helpful. I find that in general, if I can help a lot of people, it'll come back.
Yeah, that's great advice. I appreciate that, Alex.
So,
and then as we kind
Ryan,
of
you're up, man. Anything to add to that? Come on, personal branding.
No, I think the thing that's been really going through my mind as we've had this podcast is just, my approach has been, add value, from a personal perspective. But I think what you're saying is kind of broaden that, and at an apartment community, add value. So to the residents that come in, here's the things that are great about this community in terms of, here's how, these shopping complexes or these parks or these schools can be of value to those residents. And I think, a series of follow-on emails, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I think that was very insightful, and I appreciate that. Yeah, that was great.
Oh, nice. Right.
Yeah, no, it's good. As we wrap up here, Alex, what are the 3 biggest lessons you learned from your time in multifamily?
Oh, okay. 3 biggest lessons would be, number 1, dead leads are not dead leads. Most of the time, some dead leads are dead. But the vast majority of people you think will not rent may rent down the line. We've seen people come back 3 years later just because we sent them a couple emails a year, right? And it is much less expensive to get somebody like that to rent who's already in our database.
Sure.
So follow up with people. I would say the second thing, biggest lessons, is that don't focus on lead generation if you don't have a CRM to process effectively. I mean, I guess, you still need leads probably, but a CRM, if you don't have a CRM should be top on the priority list, right? And that does a few things. It makes you a lot more efficient, effective with how you spend money. It makes you a lot more competitive in general. So
awesome.
That's a recipe for success, just having a CRM to manage this stuff. And then the third thing I'd say, big lessons, are that a lot of times fixing an occupancy issue on the sale, like on the sales and lead side, tends to start with staffing first and then marketing. So that's not me blaming leasing consultants. But a lot of times you can find, oh, wow, okay, there's a bunch of leads that we haven't been following up with. Or maybe the leasing team doesn't have enough experience in a certain situation, or needs more training, right? Or whatever it may be, right? But a lot of times what we found to be as a marketing question was solved in an operational way, where a really great supervisor came alongside their leasing team and supported them, right? Didn't come down like you're doing it all wrong.
Sure.
It was an approach of, we're going to help you be successful, right? And that tends to work really well. When that's happening, it's much easier for marketing to do their job.
Awesome. No, Alex, I really appreciate that. This has been fantastic. So, tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you.
Oh yeah. So thanks. Yeah, we're based in Claremont, California. The easiest way to get in touch with us is just jump on our website, which is Ninestone Marketing, all spelled out, Ninestone Marketing. or give us a phone call. And our number is 909-913-4800. So, and we'd be happy to chat with you. Our approach in general, Ryan, has been, we're going to share ideas that help companies be effective. And no matter what. And if they want to work with us long-term, great, we'll help them. Right? But if they take those ideas and need to implement them themselves, hey, we're glad we can share things that work.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great approach, Alex. You've been a great friend for many years and really appreciate you making the time to help our listeners. It's been very helpful to me, so I appreciate that as well.
Thank you for listening to Multifamily Rockstars. We hope this episode was helpful for your personal and professional growth. For more episodes and to learn more about investing in multifamily apartments, check out lifechangingcapital.com.